Welcome to Chris Parkin Shooting Sports. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about my 5 favourite airgun pellets. Now, for years I've shot 177, more recently I've become more of a 2.2 guy, and I'm also shooting FAC as well as sub 12 foot-pounds. I'm shooting 25 caliber and 30 caliber specifically in FAC for the greater versatility at longer distance, but for every man the 2.2 pellet is still probably the go-to source for most airgun shooters. So to look at some of the different ones here, I've chosen these as my 5 favourites because they're the ones I use most frequently. There are a couple of others, but I wanted to try and spread it across the 5 major types, different pellet shapes, different weights, and what they can be specifically useful for. So let's start with number 1. The Webley Acupel is quite a short 14.4 grain 2.2 caliber pellet. I'll list all the dimensions of these and exact weights on screen afterwards, but the things to look for in pellets are, does it suit your barrel? So, number 1, take a selection of pellets, get a nice still day, a stable shooting position, and practice, because different pellets will work slightly differently, and even though you've always had a favourite pellet and maybe you've had to change for some reason, don't forget to check it on paper, re-zero, and reconfirm your ballistics again as well, because muzzle velocity can change very slightly, and also the ballistic coefficient, or the efficiency with which it flies through the air. I've found the Acupels have worked specifically very well in 2.2 spring piston air rifles, where the speed, a bit more stability, seems to blend well with a physically sprung piston flying down a cylinder, compressing the air ahead of it and driving the pellet down the barrel. I would say this is one of the go-to pellets for a sub 12 foot-pound air rifle, purely because of that speed, and also the fact it's quite short in length and it stabilises easily. It doesn't need a huge amount of speed, whether from the spinning effect of the rifling or the shuttlecock effect of the way the skirt stabilises a standard skirted Diablo-shaped airgun pellet. And of course this is a roughly Diablo shape with a rounded nose and a skirted tail. Here you can see close in detail of the Acupel pellet. Head diameter is 0.214 inches, skirt diameter is 0.221 inches, overall weight is 14.4 grains, and overall length is 0.2675 inches. Moving onward, we could look at these Diablo Exacts from JSB. Now these are a much heavier pellet, 18.13 grains. I don't find these work so well in the spring piston air rifles, but these do work well in pre-charged air rifles, and especially so when you go above 12 foot-pound FAC versions. The consistency of these pellets in terms of the diameter of the head and the diameter of the skirt is very good, and the weight consistency is less than 0.1 of a grain, so you do get more precision and reliability performance on target. Again, it's the simple Diablo shape, and the Diablo shape stabilises well. The skirt is slightly broader than the head itself. When you put it into the barrel, the head goes in easily, but the skirt then nips in, whether it's pushed in by your thumbnail or the pellet probe itself, that squeezes it into the rifling to seal. All the air that's going to push behind it is going to seal it and drive it forwards through the barrel. The Diablo-shaped pellet has been the standby of the airgun world for decades because it just works so well in both target and hunting environments. Groups well on paper, they can be made in high volumes consistently, they're not too expensive, and they also expand well on vermin and small game animals. It's vitally important to chronograph your air rifle when you do change pellets and make sure that everything is still the legal side of 12 foot-pounds. Heavier pellets can push things over the limit slightly. Here you can see close in detail of the JSB matched Diablo pellet, the Exact Jumbo Heavy. Overall weight is 18.13 grains, overall length is 0.3115 inches, head diameter is 0.2165 inches, and the skirt diameter is 0.2225 inches. Changing shape completely now, we're looking at a pointed pellet. This RWS Superpoint is still quite lightweight at 14.5 grains, but it's a little bit longer than the Acupel of a similar weight. The pointed shape gives you slightly better penetration, so if you are having trouble, maybe it's longer distances, you're wanting to go through the skull of small game, things like that, that can help a little bit more. Energy and speeds will be similar, just the shape, the ballistics, they all change very slightly, so again, very important to retune your rifle and make notes of how your ballistics are affected. Looking at the RWS Superpoint, head diameter is 0.212 inches, skirt diameter is 0.228 inches. Although similar in weight to the Acupel, now at 14.5 instead of 14.4 grains, the overall length is significantly longer at 0.341 inches compared to the Acupel's 0.267 inches. Changing tack completely now, this is the Hades pellet from JSB. Now it's the same 15.89 grain weight as their standard Diablo pellet, but the tip has actually got 3 cavities moulded into it, which will hopefully help expansion to propagate through the lead. Unlike a copper jacketed lead core or monolithic centerfire bullet for non-toxic use, similar shapes like this won't cause this lead pellet to break up completely. I do find though that it expands a little bit more quickly. Although you think the cavities in the front of the pellet might cause airflow issues and damage ballistics, this actually performs similarly to the standard Diablo pellet with the smooth front. Although the weight, speed, energy and ballistics are similar. Looking at the JSB Hades pellet, overall weight is 15.89 grains. Head diameter is 0.2165 inches, skirt diameter is 0.224 inches, and overall length is 0.2825 inches. So, to completely skip now, we've gone from solid lead to a new non-toxic material. This is the RWS Hyperdome pellet. Now it's significantly lighter, only 11 grains still in 22 caliber, because it's made of a non-toxic material. I think the whole topic of non-toxic materials is quite political and it's also quite polarising among shooters, but I think it's a factor we're going to have to consider as part of our future as airgun shooters. A lot of these non-toxic pellets are not currently rated for spring piston air rifles, only for pre-charged. So as always, it's well worth trying a small quantity before you buy in bulk. I have found they work very well in pre-charged air rifles, especially when that rifle can be tuned to fit the harmonics that this creates within the barrel. The accuracy on paper is good, the material is harder, it's less malleable and it doesn't deform as easily. So on one hand, there's less damage ever going to occur in transit, so the pellets will arrive with you in perfect condition. But when the pellet does hit the soft skin target, it does tend to penetrate more deeply and you do get more pass-throughs with these at the moment. The lighter weight of this pellet leads to slightly more muzzle velocity, so you do get slightly flatter trajectory. But watch out for the ballistic coefficients and make sure again you test at all ranges in wind conditions suitable to your hunting environments. It's a very new technology and it will continue to develop, so it's great to look into what's going on now, and then hopefully in a few years' time we're all going to have pellets that we're just as happy using as the years of lead we've used in the past. Looking at the RWS Hyperdome pellet, which is non-toxic, the lower density of the material leads to only 11.1 grains but an overall length of 0.3035 inches. Head diameter is 0.2155 inches and the skirt diameter is 0.2255 inches. It's noticeable that the RWS Hyperdome on the right, compared to the JSB Exact on the left, shows a sharper driving band around the head of the pellet. Both this and the skirt are what are engraved by the lands and grooves of the barrel's rifling. This is what makes the pellet spin as it flies, and there is also a stability factor from the shuttlecock-like resistance of the larger skirt compared to the weight-bearing head and forward centre of gravity on a standard airgun pellet. Well, I hope you've enjoyed watching that video. It's a few thoughts of mine on my top 5 airgun pellets. Of course, these have all been considered in 22 caliber. You can think similarly in 177, 25 or even 30 caliber. Slugs are something I'll cover in other videos because I've been using them as well, especially in the FAC air rifles. But for now, for 20 to 30 metre hunting maximum shots on a 12 foot-pound air rifle, I still favour lead, specifically in the Hades pellet, for hunting rats, feral pigeons, squirrels and rabbits. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment, and don't forget your comments are what drive me to make more videos. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you can see the weekly uploads. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.